Hi folks, Dennis Tosa, also known as F Noodles, and today we're going to be talking about someone who has recently gone viral on X. In fact, she's gone viral over and over and over again. I can't stop seeing this lady on my timeline for whatever reason. Her name is Zara Beth. She describes herself on her website as a content creator, author, musician, and disability advocate from the UK. She says she shares her life as a neurodivergent person while navigating neurological conditions and chronic illness. Now, you might be asking yourselves, Dennis, why are we talking about this individual? Well, there's a reason. One of our most recent videos has indeed gone viral. It's a video that shows Zara attempting to walk up a flight of stairs. Here's the video.
The lift's down. Rip. Here's what happens if you're a wheelchair user and the lift breaks at the train station. This was Manchester Piccadilly, and when I arrived, the lift was broken and I had my chair and attachment. I spoke to the staff and they brought down a stair lift. I don't know if it works. The first option was the built-in stair lift, but this actually didn't work. They figured out that it was broken, so that was two options completely down. The second option was a small portable stair lift, which didn't look as sturdy, and I was quite scared of it, not gonna lie. But they brought it down anyway, and when we got to the bottom, we realized that my chair wouldn't fit onto it. I have quite a long wheelbase with my attachment, so we couldn't do it. We'd just gotten off a flight too, so I couldn't even detach my attachment because it was physically taped together and we didn't have scissors. So in the end, because I'm ambulatory and I did have a bit of energy on this day, I offered to walk up the stairs while they carried up my setup. The staff were really helpful in this case, but I'm not sure how it would have been fixed if I couldn't walk up the stairs. Travel is really unpredictable anyway, but if you add in being a wheelchair user, you never quite know what's going to happen or how to get to your destination. So traveling with a disability is a roller coaster.
Look, I'm just going to tell you the following. I'm the kind of person who always thought that if somebody is wheelchair bound, they're literally bound to the wheelchair. They need the wheelchair to get from place to place. In a circumstance like this, I would have assumed that those gentlemen helping her would simply carry both her and the wheelchair up the stairs. Now, obviously, I'm here to educate myself as much as I'm here to educate all of you, so I wanted to learn more about Zara's specific condition. Zara says in this video that she's ambulatory, so I took the time to look up exactly what that means. According to my research, an ambulatory person is someone who is able to walk around and is not confined to a bed. In the healthcare field, the term can describe a patient's physical mobility, the type of medical setting, and even the devices used while a person is moving around. Now, out of those three definitions, I'm assuming, and we're going to get into more details about how Zara describes her illness in just a moment, that the first definition is the one that applies to Zara. But we also have to recognize that most people are encountering Zara's content through clips like the one we just watched. They're seeing somebody who appears to rely on a wheelchair talking about climbing stairs while also describing herself as ambulatory. So I'm trying to approach this in as much good faith as possible. I'm seeking actual information, trying to be charitable because I'm here to learn as much as I am to criticize, not just the latter. Based on that first definition alone, I have to assume that Zara is someone who is capable of walking on her own, even if only with some limitations. In her case, she's not using a cane or a walker, she's using a wheelchair. Now, in order to understand how someone could be an ambulatory wheelchair user, we have to make a few assumptions. One possibility is that they're living with a chronic illness or a disability that began in childhood. Conditions like cerebral palsy or spina bifida, for example, can leave someone fully ambulatory while still requiring adaptive tools like leg braces or crutches. There are also ambulatory wheelchair users with so-called invisible illnesses, including POTS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, multiple sclerosis, and fibromyalgia. Those individuals often use wheelchairs to safely navigate long distances, manage severe fatigue, or reduce pain while still retaining the ability to stand and walk short distances for much or even all their lives. On the other hand, some progressive genetic conditions, such as Duchenne muscular dystrophy, can eventually result in the loss of ambulation altogether. Now, again, those are just examples of conditions that could fit the general category. On her website, Zara explains her own situation. She writes, "I grew up fairly normal until my health worsened in high school. I spent years struggling with mental health and being bullied. Around age 15, my tics deteriorated and I was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome. I also also developed a condition called functional neurological disorder, or FND, which causes neurological symptoms like seizures, tremors, weakness, dystonia, and more. Based on that description alone, yes, it is medically plausible that someone with those conditions could be an ambulatory wheelchair user. However, the diagnosis by itself is not enough to conclude that someone needs a wheelchair. The deciding factor isn't the label, it's how severe and functionally limiting the symptoms actually are. Those symptoms can fluctuate dramatically. Someone may be able to walk one day or walk short distances, but then be unable to walk safely the next. And that's one of the reasons some people with FND use a wheelchair only part of the time. As for Tourette syndrome by itself, it almost never requires the use of a wheelchair. Even severe motor tics generally don't prevent someone from walking. However, if a person also has severe FND affecting their legs or balance, the combination could absolutely contribute to mobility problems. Now, all that being said, what would support someone being an ambulatory wheelchair user? If they can't safely walk long distances because of weakness, tremors, or dystonia, if they're at significant risk of falling, if they experience unpredictable functional seizures that make walking unsafe, if they have severe fatigue caused by neurological symptoms, or if they're capable of walking around their home but not through a grocery store, a school campus, an airport, or other environments that require prolonged walking. That's essentially what an ambulatory wheelchair user is. Someone who can walk at least some of the time but benefits from using a wheelchair in certain situations. What we don't know from Zara's public content is how far she can currently walk, whether she falls, whether her symptoms are constant or episodic, or whether a physician or physical therapist specifically recommended the use of mobility aids. Now, obviously, without more details, it's difficult to know how severe her condition actually is or how much it affects her day-to-day life. We only have a window into her life, and that window is whatever she chooses to post on social media. And as we all know, social media is absolutely full of scammers and people who present themselves in very specific ways because attention, sympathy, money, and status are valuable currencies online. Now, I'm not saying that's specifically what's happening with Zara Beth, even though that's clearly the suspicion a lot of people currently have of her online. Again, I'm trying to be fair here. I'm not interested in jumping to conclusions, but there have since been a number of videos posted that raise questions about how truthful Zara is being regarding her disability. So we're going to take a look at this one video at a time. There are a lot of them, and I'll let you come to your own conclusions. But now that we've gotten some of the medical background out of the way and we have a better understanding of the conditions Zara says she has, I think we're in a much better position to actually evaluate the claims being made in these videos.
To those of you who have seen my other videos, this one may come as a surprise. I am a wheelchair user, but I can also walk. I've made some videos about this recently, but I found this footage from last year and I wanted to share it because after 2 years of physio and working on my mobility, I can walk on my good days. And one of the challenges I built up to last year was being able to go for a walk and playing on some playground equipment. So here's me walking and testing my balance and just practicing moving. But something I really want to share is that disabled people are allowed to have fun. We are also allowed to share our good moments and our good days. I feel like this isn't something that is promoted on social media, but disabled people can have a good day. We can have fun. We can have improvements. This doesn't mean the disability goes away, and it doesn't mean we're immediately cured, but especially with dynamic disabilities or chronic illness, where it's not the same every day, we can do different things on different days depending on the symptoms we have. 5 years ago, I could still walk and do gymnastics and go to clubs, do sports, even though I was still disabled. My health has worsened since then and I can't do that anymore, but with some physio and building up, I can do stuff like this. So as a wheelchair user relearning how to walk, this is an update of something I can do on a good day.
Again, man, the perception is just jarring. Seeing her go from playing on playground equipment, jumping up and down on obstacle courses, balancing on chains, dancing across poles, skipping rocks, and even doing gymnastics, only to then see her in a wheelchair creates a huge level of incongruence. It just doesn't naturally compute for most people. Again, we're being charitable here. I'm trying to take her at her word, but it's still crazy to watch those clips smashed together. Now, to be fair, she does explain that she's no longer able to do many of those things and believes she can potentially train herself back into doing them. And honestly, all of that generally tracks with the diagnosis we were just discussing. If her condition is what she says it is, then fluctuations of balance, mobility, and walking ability from day to day are medically possible. But I think the visual is what's so jarring, and it's the way people instinctively process these images that fuels so much skepticism. Most people are used to seeing someone who is wheelchair bound and understanding that it's simply their condition. They don't think of it as something that changes dramatically from one moment to the next. So when they see someone jumping around, balancing, doing gymnastics, and then later relying on a wheelchair, their immediate reaction is to question it. They immediately think this has to be a scam. This person is just doing it for attention. And honestly, it's understandable why people arrive at that conclusion, because on its face, it seems like such a massive incongruence. I mean, to most normies like myself, it just doesn't make intuitive sense. How do you go from needing a wheelchair in one moment to apparently not needing it at all in another while performing relatively difficult physical activities? I mean, I'm just gonna call balls and strikes here. I can't even do some of the stuff that she's doing here, and I'm relatively active. So I completely understand why this content creates so much confusion and why so many people are immediately suspicious. Even if there are legitimate medical explanations that could account for what we're currently seeing here.
I can do it fine and I join in with everything, and other weeks I know my body well and I know that I'm not quite up to it, even though I've made it to the gym and I'm exercising and I'm physically moving and I'm there. It doesn't mean you have to do all the really high-powered things. You don't have to do everything that other people are doing. You just do what suits your body and what suits your mind, and the point is to enjoy it. So I go to enjoy it, and sometimes that may just be me practicing my splits on the floor and maybe doing a couple handstands. And if that's all I can do on that week, then that's fine, because I still enjoy it.
She says sometimes all you can do is basically what most people can't do. That's all you can do, really? Look, folks, again, I'm trying to be charitable here, but this is really stretching even my own charitability. Like, what are we talking about here? This is insane. You're telling me you're wheelchair bound and this is what you're doing? What? No, okay. I'm sorry, I can't. This is really testing my patience. Look, I'm gonna stop and we're just gonna keep watching, okay? Because I'm trying really hard here, dude, and I wanna keep trying because I'm that charitable of a person. Charitability. That's my middle name. Not really, but you get the point. Anyway, in this next clip, this chick films herself in class while she's apparently suffering seizures and having other sorts of neurological conditions to deal with.
It's fine. Yeah, so they just want a reference. Yeah. Okay, 2 minutes with these words.
I'm just out of it. I'm either gonna faint or have a seizure. I don't know. I feel droopy. I have no idea.
What? Maybe call a doctor? Why are we filming this? Why are we broadcasting this? What's the use? Okay. Hello?
4 or 5 pages just earlier. Maybe I'll be up it down to 60 minutes again.
Okay. I feel like I want to call I want to see if I can call somebody to help her. This is actually excruciating to watch. I really can't tell if she's messing with me or if this is actually what is happening right now. Why is nobody helping this chick? Really? Your head just drops in class and nobody does anything? This is like it's normal?
Yeah, for reason.
Okay, are you having an okay moment?
Introduction, isn't it? Your overview. And then some of the techniques that you need to mention. Well, it's 11 minutes into a lesson, so yeah. I think we needed to get in and get going. Yes, you wouldn't let me go to school, but that bastard never gave me a chance. Yeah? Yeah? I'm quoting. You wouldn't let me go to school.
And the clip just keeps going. It keeps going. She continues having seizures, and at one point she puts her head down and appears to pass out. Now, obviously, I understand that something like this is possible. I actually worked on a film set with a guy who had epilepsy, and he would have seizures every so often, depending on the lighting setup, how stressful the day was, or other factors. During a 3-week shoot, I think he had about 2 or 3 seizures, but here's the thing. Every single time he had one, we immediately sent him home. We didn't keep him on set the rest of the day because having a seizure, even just a mild one, was incredibly draining for him. Afterwards, he was like a completely different person. We'd pay for his Uber home, and usually one of his roommates, a friend, or someone else would make sure he got home safely. So seeing Zara sit there in class, apparently going through almost 5 minutes of seizures, struck me as unusual. Her friend is sitting next to her, is timing the seizure, which is what happens at the end of the video. Then she appears to take a little 2-minute nap, wakes up and says, "How long was I out?" And the guy says, "About 2 minutes." It's just all very strange. Now, I understand the value of authentically representing something like this because it helps people understand what others experience in real life. I also have to assume that only a very small percentage of people experience life like this. This isn't how the overwhelming majority of people function day to day, and I'm not saying that to other her or suggest that her experiences are somehow less valuable. That's not my point at all. I'm simply acknowledging that this is an extraordinarily uncommon way for a person to experience daily life, but at the same time, it's also obvious how something like this could be exploited as a grift or a scam online. I mean, we've seen this happen before. A few years ago, there was a woman who built an entire YouTube career portraying herself as an expert on dissociative identity disorder, complete with multiple personalities, only to later be exposed for allegedly faking much of it for views. Trisha Paytas even jumped on that trend herself and ended up facing accusations that she was using DID for attention. Now again, am I accusing Zara of doing that? No, I don't have enough evidence, and I don't know her well enough to make that claim, but I do find it suspicious that her first instinct in a moment like this would be to prop up her phone, record herself for 5 minutes straight, capture herself having the episode, film her handwriting in the middle of all of it, then cut back to the seizure. That editing choice was also incredibly jarring. Imagine that, folks. She interrupts the footage to show her handwriting, then immediately cuts back to herself having a seizure. The whole presentation just feels off. It's unsettling. And like I said earlier in the video, my instinct isn't to mock someone who's genuinely suffering. If this is real, I want to help her. I don't want to see somebody experiencing something like this. I'm also suspicious of the classroom itself. Why is nobody helping her? Is this something that happens all the time? Have they been told, hey, she's going to experience these episodes, just leave her alone? We don't have enough context to know, but from the outside looking in, the entire situation is just bizarre. What?
Okay. I'm gonna karate chop it out of your hand.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
What? Okay.
Right, do you want to just close your eyes? Sorry. Can you just close your eyes?
What are we?
Oh God, this is impossible. Oh no. What a conundrum. It's a bloody conundrum. So close your... Sorry. Close your eyes. Wait. I need to compose myself. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, that makes things even weirder. Again, what? Anyway, as I mentioned earlier, according to Zara's website, she has Tourette syndrome, and she does post videos that she says shows her experiencing Tourette's. I assume that's what we just saw in this last clip, but what I found truly strange wasn't her representation of having Tourette's, it was the fan videos she's made surrounding it and the way she presents the condition in those videos. Here's a clip.
My tics roast my followers, part 4. Put your tits away. Boobies. Sorry. Roar. Blow a kiss. It's a road, man. Run. Have you got a spliff? I spy a bisexual. Get a refund for that haircut. I'm so sorry. Dumbo. Oh. Pingu. It's Pingu. It's a penguin. Ah, you poser. Get lost. What's on your face? Fuck off. Fuck off! Nay. Fall, bitch. Ah!
And this is where it started becoming even more suspicious, because if it didn't seem performative before, it absolutely does now. What happened to all these tics in the other videos we were just watching when she's walking around doing gymnastics, balancing, and all these other physical activities? You don't see any of these tics, but now they're suddenly front and center. Are these tics happening on command? And by the way, this is part 4 of a series where her tics are supposedly roasting her followers. It's also worth pointing out that this doesn't seem to be something she actively posts about anymore. These days, her content appears to focus much more on her wheelchair use and her FND. So naturally, you have to start wondering, did the Tourette subside? Does she somehow have on-command Tourette's? Or did the grift simply evolve? Was Tourette's getting less engagement, so now the wheelchair and the FND have become the focus instead? I don't know. There's no way for me to know, obviously. We have to keep an open mind here. Yes, we're looking at everything through a skeptical lens, but I'm not going to make accusations without enough evidence. That said, I do think all of this comes across as extremely suspicious and highly performative. Honestly, the level of cringe in this video, especially with the constant repetition, is hard to ignore. And look, none of this is to say that Tourette syndrome isn't a real condition or that people can't genuinely have it. Ethan Klein from H3, I've met him in person. He has it. It's real. There are absolutely people who live with Tourette syndrome. The question isn't whether the condition exists. The question is whether some people exaggerate their symptoms for online attention, and whether that's what's happening here with Zara.
I have been a wheelchair user for around 5 years now, and I have learned a lot. I've had so many different experiences being a wheelchair user, and I've also tried out many different forms of wheelchair with attachments, electric wheelchairs, manual wheelchairs, hospital wheelchairs. So I thought it would be fun to talk through the pros and cons of being a wheelchair user and the things that we do have to face every single day. This is not an exclusive list, this is just my experience, and based on the comments I get, I think a lot of you will relate to this. Keep in mind that all these pros and cons are from my experience. I live in the UK, but I also travel to the Netherlands, so I split my time between the two countries. I haven't really experienced—
Okay, well, right out the gate, what are we talking about? Pros and cons of being a wheelchair user? What? Am I in a parallel universe here? Why are you framing it like this is a choice? Pros and cons? As far as I'm concerned, there's just a con. That's literally it. That's the point. If you're in a wheelchair because you genuinely need one, you don't have a choice. It's not some lifestyle decision where you sit down and weigh the positives and negatives. Okay, seriously, what are we even doing here? Anyway, this is an entire 15-minute video. It's just absolutely unhinged. Maybe if this video does well, I'll do a full breakdown of this insane piece of video content. But the premise alone is enough to make you stop and scratch your head. It's like saying, here are the pros and cons of breaking your back. What? What are we even doing?
I am bringing back an old series where I tell you guys what my latest developed tics are. So here are the tics that I have most commonly at the moment. Number 1 is obviously my meow. I've had this for years, and I think it's because I have a cat, but I do that constantly. It's my most common tic. And a lot of my tics at the minute are actually coprolalia. It's been ramping up and getting more common. So I actually have one which is inspired by Harry Potter. It started as bloody hell, Harry. That one.
Look, I can't even finish watching that video. We watched about 30 seconds of it, and guess what? We also watched only 30 seconds of the previous video. The difference between this one and the one before it was that she didn't have a single tick show up in the one before this. In this one, she's had, what, 6 ticks in 30 seconds? What are we doing here, okay? Now I'm suspicious as hell, lady. You see? I see you, and I don't trust this. Anyway, folks, I gotta be honest with you. In my opinion, this is all straight up horse shit. Horse doo-doo. Just weird. I can't definitively say this is a scam or that she's grifting because I don't have enough evidence to make that claim, but I can absolutely say that this whole thing is incredibly suspicious. It's very strange to build your entire online brand, your entire personality around your so-called illnesses, and then have those symptoms seemingly fluctuate so dramatically depending on the content you're making. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm suspicious as hell, and I'm gonna keep my eye on this one. Anyway, you let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and share it with a friend if you think they would find it interesting. I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care. Peace.